I'm ready. Are you ready? No, too bad. Here we go. Hey, welcome to the podcast about people whose moms died by people whose moms died. It's called No Mama, No Manual. I'm Tiana.
I am Brittany.
And we are your hosts.
And we just out here.
Yeah.
With no manual.
And no mamas.
It's wild.
This is very wild.
It's a wild time.
So essentially, we created this podcast to open up a space for people who have lost their mothers in one way or another, because some people have lost their mothers, but their mothers aren't dead. To just kind of have a sense of community and let you know, like, it's not weird. It is weird, but you're not weird for experiencing that in all of the things that you go through.
Do you remember how we came up with this?
No, not
you
really.
You don't remember?
I don't remember.
So we were at my house. It might have been at the beginning of COVID. Mm-hmm. We were just sitting around talking. I think I made lentil tacos, and we were just having one of our taco nights. Mm-hmm. And we were just talking about how different life is since our moms passed away. Mm-hmm. And you were like, man, we just out here, like, no mama, no manual, no nothing. I was like, hey, yo, that's a bar. Like, that's a mixtape name right there. And I think I texted you later, like, one day we're going to start something called No Mama, No Manual. You were like, okay, friend. And now,
because I support you.
3 years later, here we are. Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So I guess we should probably tell people more about us.
Sure.
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay. So, is this like our life? You know, intros can be long.
They can.
You know how, like, you go to conferences and they be like, say your name, say where you're from.
Your Howard intro.
I'm a biology major. Sure. So, as we said, my name is Brittany. I lost my mom a little bit over 6 years ago now, which is wild.
That is wild.
To say.
I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, it's been 6 years. It's been 6? It'll be 6 this year? Or is it 5?
6.
It's been 6.
For me, it's 5.
Yeah. It's 6 because I'm already 7. Mm-hmm. It's only 7, yep. So it's been 6 years now. When my mother died, I was a first-year med student. My son had just turned 1. My oldest son had just turned 1. It was rough. It was a rough time. But I finished medical school, so I am a fully licensed physician. Currently in psychiatry residency. I'm a doctor, not your doctor. This is not medical advice. Gotta plug that in there. And just trying to navigate life without my mama. Yeah. It's been a journey. As a mama. Yeah, it's been a journey. So.
Yeah, I think for me, I was in a much different space. So I lost my mom. It'll be 5 years this year. And at the time, I was just starting in my career, like as a radio personality and a DJ, and it was all very surreal. I think it's still very surreal for me. Just going through so many different challenges, like, girl, what am I supposed to do? I'm sure you've been through things like this, and I'm sick that you cannot tell me what to do, especially during the times when I was trying to teach, because my mom was a retired teacher. I'm in the classroom with students who look like and probably act like students she taught, and it's been a journey.
I feel the same way, like, when I think about, like, marriage and divorce, they'd be like, girl, I know you had one of these. Like, how do I deal with this man? That's a story for another day. But yeah,
and it is.
You know, we'll talk about that at some point. But like you said, just navigating life. I was 25 when my mama died. Mm-hmm. I'm now 31, and I know I say this all the time. I'm gonna cry. I'm probably gonna cry at some point today. Just so you know, we probably should have grabbed pictures. We probably should have grabbed. It's morning. Look at that. Look at that. No, my daddy. Look at that. It's his couch. He got something right there. He be crying when we not here. I know he do. That's what. But I know she would like be proud of me. in my life and how it looks if she were here. But if she were here, it wouldn't look nothing like this.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's something that like I'd be sitting with a lot. I probably would be somewhere doing dermatology, Botox shots, because
that's what she would have wanted.
That's what she would have wanted, free Botox. That's definitely what she would have wanted. Probably would have studied a little harder, definitely would have. So it's definitely a journey. You said, you were like, it's so surreal. And the way you said it, I remember when you called me to tell me your mama died. Mm-hmm. And you said it just like that. Like it was with the same voice. But I remember that. I remember we had a real talk and I was like, friend, this is going to suck.
Yes.
That was like the first thing. I felt so bad. Like when we got on the phone, I was like, what else could I have said that wasn't
and
so bad?
And you know what? That has stuck with me. And as I have, I don't know, coached with other friends through the deaths of their moms, that'd be the first thing I tell them, hey, yo, this shit suck. And it's going to suck.
Every day.
But
every day.
That's really all I have.
You're better at doing it.
Yeah. Like, it's going to be all right. But at first it's not, though. So, like, just know that you're good. You cry, fall out on the floor, do whatever you got to do.
Yeah. I think one of the things is to give people an idea of kind of like how our mom died and kind of what the setting was before we start telling stories about what happened. My mother, it started a couple years before she died. She just like her arm stopped swinging when she walked. And we used to kind of make fun of her, like, hey, yo, like, why are you walking like that?
Why are you making fun of that?
Hey, like, what's wrong? Like, and she used to go with it. Like, it was fine. And then a bunch of other random things happened. Like, we had to take her to the emergency room one time because she just, like, couldn't pee. It was, like, really weird. And then she started, like, acting out in her dreams. Like, legitimately, like, fighting in her sleep. And we couldn't figure out what was going on. And then she started falling. But she wasn't, like, falling, like, tripping over herself. She would, like, just stand up and, like, fall straight back. She fell through the wall. One time she fell down the stairs and, like, broke her wrist. And we could, like, not figure it out. They initially diagnosed her with Parkinson's disease. But my mama was, like, 48. And 48-year-olds, maybe they get Parkinson's disease. But it doesn't go that fast. And they also don't fall backwards. Like, they trip forward. They trip over their feet. Things like that. And so eventually, after like multiple doctors, a lot of testing, she got the diagnosis of multiple system atrophy, which is basically like failure of your autonomic nervous system. So the things you do automatically. So breathing, right? Swinging your arms when you walk. Yeah. Okay. Peeing, pooping, things like that. She couldn't do it anymore. So I was pregnant when we found that out. That was not joyful. And I was like 7-8 months pregnant, bathing my mama, picking my mama up off the floor. We was out here just getting it. And we got through that first year after my son was born, fighting every single day, fussing at each other because grown people just shouldn't live with their parents. Like, as is, ma'am, like, no, I'm your child, but I'm not a child. Please stop talking to me. In fact, I have a child. Like, so that was such an adjustment. And so that like, when a lot of people are coming into their like friendship with their mother and things like that, I was like, the roles and the dynamics were changing. And that was like rough. Cause be like, I know you my mama, but like right now I need you to just like stop yelling at me and walk so that we both don't fall down the stairs, right? Just driving her to doctor's appointments, trying to study. I remember like studying, like my study hours. I would wake up early in the morning, try to study before she woke up, breastfeed my son real quick, hand him to his dad, try to study, get my mom to whatever appointment she had to go to, try to make it to lab, study late at night after everybody was asleep. It was just a wild time. So that was a wild time. So like even before my mama died, she was like really, really sick, which was in and of itself its own experience of how our dynamic changed. And And then when she died, I've just been out here. I've been bumping my head against every wall. In fact, walls, like...
They will suddenly grow shells for you to bump into.
I was paying attention. How did I run into this? It's stuff like that. So it's definitely been a journey, for sure.
For me, it was a little bit different because my mom lived out of state. And she hid her sickness from me. So I had found out that she had congestive heart failure in passing graduation day. This is 2014. We cleaning out. We cleaning out the dorm room. My mama randomly announces she got congestive heart failure, and it's like, okay, we need to put these boxes in the car. I'm sorry. What? And I guess at the time, I didn't know how serious it was or what that meant for her, what that meant for us, because I hadn't seen her or lived up under her in so long. So it was like a invisible disease to me. And then there were a couple of other times where she was hospitalized that I found out about.
So you just call your mom, she's in the hospital, and like don't mention that she's sitting in the hospital?
That happens.
Hey, how you doing?
And then I talked to my uncle later. He like, you talked to your mama? I'm like, yeah, just have the phone. He like, she told you she was in the hospital? No. Okay. And I'm calling her back.
Ma'am,
where are you? Located.
She couldn't have got away with that in 2023, man. Listen, I got your location, sis.
Drop a pin. Stop playing me. So, right before she passed, she was kind of in like the end stages of her sickness. She had gotten oxygen because she was a smoker. She had gotten oxygen. I remember seeing that, but September we had a family reunion. And at her great uncle's funeral, or after it, she ended up going to the hospital. I think she had a heart attack, but of course I'll never know because one, she didn't tell me, and two, well, now she did, so there's no one that. It's awkward. But when I went down for the family reunion, she was in the hospital, and I was flustered because I hadn't seen any doctors. Like no doctors would come in while I was sitting with her. When I would ask her questions, she didn't have any answers. I'm like, man, I'm about to get you up out of here. These doctors don't know nothing. It didn't click till after she passed that there was nothing else they could do. That's why they didn't come in and say nothing. What they gonna say? There's nothing else we can do about this. You are in the end stages of it. Girl, go home. And so maybe a few days before she died, a soror of ours who I met while I was down for the family reunion went to go visit my mom in the hospital. So yeah, she called me on FaceTime. I was able to see my mom, laugh with her. She was going home. And then a few days later, I got a phone call. Like, your mom isn't breathing. Like, she's unresponsible. Excuse me?
When was the last time you had spoken to her before she died?
That conversation was the day before. Yeah. We got in a big argument, actually. Very, very big argument. Like, to a point where I wanted her to come to Detroit for a treatment. She was like, I'm not coming back to Detroit. She wanted to live in the South real, real bad. Like,
we do love it down here, you know.
Girl.
We do love it here.
She wanted to live in the South real, real bad. She did not want to go home. She did not want to come back to Detroit because the South was home. And I'm like, well, we gonna have to have this conversation. We gonna have to go revisit this. But briefly, I was just like, okay, well, what are you gonna do? Stay down there and die? And I regret saying that now. Like, but like, that is exactly what she wanted to do. Actually, now that you mention it, yes,
that can be hard. Man.
And so, I was talking to her. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to call you back. I love you. And she hung up. So I called back. I was like, hello? I said, I love you.
I said.
And she was like, I love you too. And she hung up on me again. And that was the time I heard from her. Because the next day, my girl was like, you're not coming down here to get me. I'm out.
My mom was, I knew it was coming to the end. Because my mama, like, first of all, my mama was putting heels on to go to Kroger. Okay? Like, jewelry up. It'd be like, ma'am, we going to the corner store. Like, we're not doing anything. sis would have on a full outfit and a face of makeup and be like, okay, I'm ready to go where we are literally going to the drive-thru at McDonald's. Like, but towards the end, she stopped getting dressed. She would be wearing sweatpants. And it was like, ma'am, where are you going? Like, that's an appropriate outfit for where we're going. So I'm concerned. And she just stopped doing the thing. Like, my mama was an early bird. 5 o'clock in the morning, everybody up because she up. And you hear the plots rustling and you hear, and like 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm beating you up. Ma'am, let's go. Get ready. But towards the end, she wasn't doing those things. And my dad had come because we had to adjust because my mom needed like around the clock care. My dad was still working. So my mom was in Detroit with me, but my dad was still down here in Atlanta because he was working. But he would come up on the weekends. And so my mom got sick, like a cold. And she, because like of the illness she had, breathing was difficult, swallowing was difficult. She choked a lot. And I called my dad and I was like, this is the last cold my mama gonna get. I told him that on Wednesday. So usually he came on the weekends, but he came down on Thursday that week. And like my mom she was just having a real hard time. And she looked at me and she was like, if you take me to the hospital, I will never forgive you. And I was like, okay. And so me and at the time my cousin was helping to take care of her. And my aunt, her sister. And we all kind of had a little powwow. And it was like, I mean, she don't want to go to the hospital. So we didn't make her go to the hospital. And she wanted some oxtails when my dad got there. So we went to the store, got her some oxtails, had a big meal or whatever. And when my dad would come, my dad had like been moving his things to come to Detroit permanently. He had kind of worked it out at work and everything. And so I had gotten an apartment. And so after the oxtails, I'm leaving. I'm like, all right, Ma, I love you. She was like, get your shit out my cabinets. Talking about my pots. Because I had moved at the house. That was the last thing she said to me. I was like, Ma, I love you. She was like, yeah, get your shit out my cabinet. I was like, okay. I closed the door. And then, it definitely was not a romantic goodbye in any way, shape, or form. But I think that's real. I just think that's life. Life is messy, but so is death. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is. And the way that we handle ourselves and our relationships and like our lives afterward is normally like forever changed. And
I'm different. I can't go to funerals.
Girl, there are so many ways in which I am different now than I was prior to 10/21/2018. So I think that this is going to be healing for us.
Oh, we didn't cry.
We did not cry. I don't know.
It's still the first episode.
So we said all that to say we are going to probably not only cry, but also just examine the ways that we're different, the ways that we look at life, different situations, how we handle ourselves and others now that we are living.
Or don't handle ourselves and others. Or just avoid ourselves and others.
And to build community around that. Like, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
So, like, if your mama died, can you subscribe to our
Good.
Hey, look, if you don't like dark humor, this not for you.
This not for you. Probably will not be everybody's.
We cracking jokes.
We are for who we for, but it may not be for everybody.
And that's okay too, because you gotta find your tribe.
You do. You have to find your people. You do.
We somebody's people.
What else can you do at this point other than like laugh, talk about it, laugh, cry?
That's really it.
Yeah. Part of this too, and creating community will be sharing other people's stories, having like just real conversations. Because how we did it is, one way, second way, but it's about 400 billion trillion ways to skin this cat. So we'll have those conversations too. So like she said, if your mama did,
get at us. Get with your girl.
Subscribe. Hey, yo, turn this up.
Okay, we gonna post the info. Join our communities. Be in community with us. Follow us on our personal Instagrams.
While we recording.
Always drinking while we're recording. And we love you. And we mean that. And okay, bye.
I like that. I like that a lot. That was good. That was